Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Trauma Uncensored. Here's a quick recap. This is a recording that's been done after the episode's been recording, so we can tell you what we talked about. So stay tuned for all of the following. Our main topic today, by the way, Brooke did not know we were going to talk about this, so you'll see later on when we go into it. I was actually pretty nervous to bring it up, but today we're going to talk about capital G and lowercase g, God, and spirituality, and how things change in your faith, whether you are of any religion, and how trauma can maybe change your perspective on spirituality and what happens after you die, or maybe what doesn't happen after you die, and all that jazz. So stay tuned for that. Amazing concepts and quotes. We also are announcing a contest, so check it out there. And then, of course, like all other times, please, if you have any sort of stories that you want to share, if you need some way of support, just reach out to us. hello@traumauncensored.com is our email. You can share your story. You can tell us a little bit about how this podcast is helping you, or just to share, to have a space or a community to share and not feel alone, which is a way that we conclude the episode on how all of this can work. So hopefully this is interesting to you. If you have ideas, questions for us as well, submit them here so that way we can talk about them on the show as well. We need to do another Q&A episode coming up. So on that note, thanks so much and enjoy.
Trauma Uncensored.
Trauma Uncensored.
Trauma Uncensored.
Today, I wanted to give a shout out to Steve Holland, and it was Amy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you don't have an iPhone or access to Apple Podcasts, thank you for leaving the comments. That is a great way to interact with the show. It does support us a lot when people leave reviews or ratings on Spotify. It's probably one of the best ways to support the show non-monetarily. So thank you for all of you who have done so. If you want to have yours read out loud and you're on Apple Podcasts, you can scroll down on the show. Like once you click on Trauma Uncensored, where it lists all the episodes, just scroll all the way down. You can see where you can leave a review. Or if you are on Spotify, you can leave a comment on any of the episodes and tell us why you liked it. Just let us know, or why you like the podcast in general, why people should listen to it. So this is a comment from episode 14 the year before, which was, if you have not listened to that, once you're done with this episode, you got to go back and listen to that one, because wow. So here's my review. It says, a lifeline in the darkest moments. As much as I wish the tragedy that brought Brooke to create this podcast never happened, Trauma Uncensored brings an unexpected sense of calm to my soul. Ooh, that's really great. Wow. Listening to each episode, I feel less alone in this trauma-filled hellhole we call grief. Wow, that should be in a plaque somewhere.
Right?
I feel less alone in this trauma-filled hellhole we call grief.
We could do a T-shirt too. We could do some merch with that. Sticker?
Hellhole. And then it says grief with an arrow on it. It doesn't matter if your loss is a child, a parent, a pet, a friend, or something intangible like your sense of safety or identity. The podcast validates it all. Wow, I never thought about that. First of all, thank you. That's really nice. And I know there was more words in it, but I'm just reading the stuff that's publicly facing, because we've gotten a lot of people messaging us, Brooke specifically, on this. And wow, but I never thought about the idea of losing safety or identity as grief. That's wow. That could be a whole episode.
Well, there are a lot of things that you can lose. In fact, the first night in the hospital, I remember one of the first things that, I thought, how will we ever do Christmas again? How can we ever celebrate Christmas? I mean, you don't think about these things, and those are, things that just, and I know Christmas is, it depends on who you are, but a big deal, not a big deal. But we were, we had a lot of traditions that we did. And it was, it's one of my favorite times of the year. And when you lose someone in that respect, it's never the same. It can be kind of the same we've tried to reintegrate some of the old traditions for Logan, but we've now in the years past created new traditions, especially for Mallory and Mila. But that was one of the first things I was thinking about in the hospital. How in the hell will we ever celebrate Christmas again? So there are so many nuggets of your life that, you feel like you lose. You can always regain them, just in a different way as well.
We touched on this, and I wanted to go back to that topic at some point in a future episode with those echo dates. And maybe that should be, as we get closer to Christmas, maybe that is the episode theme, is like, how do you do Christmas again after such an insane loss?
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
There are ways, but everybody finds their own. You know, some people I know don't do anything one Christmas. If they just don't feel it, they just don't do anything. And, you know, it's been,
Hurts.
we've celebrated because, you know, we still had Mallory and then now we have Mila. And so we still, you know, want to keep it alive for them because they don't deserve to fall into that, you know, grief hellhole of okay, well, I'm missing a child and Christmas just isn't the same. But we do our own stuff now. And, you know, I kind of, when it comes to Christmas or certain holidays, I can now move through it. But I also think I kind of internally kind of push it aside because I know that I have to, and I want to be there for my girls. I don't want them to suffer because Logan's not here, because that would be unfair. But I also kind of stuff the unfairness of the whole situation. But I also make up for it by, you know, like we have our house lit up every year and, you know, we do all the lights and everything. But Christmas has always been very special to me anyway, because being a designer, being a creative, I love the lights, the warmth, the feeling of them, you know, the decorations, all of that, the colors. It's always been one of my favorite things. And so I kind of just engulf myself in that. And then once January 1st hits, I'm like, oh, and then it just sets in. And then I'm like, all right, time to do the work around it again. Here we are.
Here we go.
Although, you know, Jordan and I last year started hopefully a new tradition with the girls. And we are going to, we're traveling to ring in the new year. So again, my birthday is January 1st. And, you know, it's exciting for me because
That's so cool.
I get to be somewhere not here and ring in the new year. But we're going back to the same place we went to last year to ring in the new year. And actually, it was an incredibly awesome start for the new year. And it kind of lifted that overall heaviness, you know, the heaviness that I typically feel going into the new year. Oh, it's another year. I mean, forget the fact that I turn another year older. It's another
great.
year of grief, and it's another year of, you know, that's how it would be before grief, and a year more since I, you know, was last saw Logan and all of that jazz.
Yeah.
And it was much different this past year, which I appreciated.
You know, it's interesting. Actually, this is very topical, and this is a good segue because, first of all, and this is not what the topic is.
Okay, I'm still waiting to hear what this topic is because
And
I
you'll know
have
it.
no idea what we're talking about
know.
today.
Oh, you'll know. I got to pick today, and Brooke told me not to tell.
Yeah.
We're just doing. I'm about to ask her about this topic.
Yep, I
like
have
in
no idea
about
what's
3
going
minutes.
on. So if
I'm
you
guessing
don't
in about
watch
3
this,
minutes.
it might be a good idea to watch it because who knows what my reaction is going to be.
I mean, it might be the reel that gets people to come. Now,
Yeah, right.
Again, before we move on, hold on to that year mark thing because there is something topical that is we need to talk about before we launch into the episode. And also, this is all one thing. The first episode of this podcast, episode 1, the crash, that would get you all the context you need for what we're about to talk about. Long story short, Brooke lost her son in a car crash back in September 15th of 2016. So the details of that are all on that episode. A lot of fallout happened. A lot of shit happened before that led to that moment. So that was episode 14. So I guess if you want to do it in chronological order, go episode 14, then episode 1, then episode 9, 10, 11, because they're about the trial after. It
would have just made sense for us to do it all in that order to begin with.
Do you see the headphones with the jumble in the middle and the logo? There you go. Right.
That's my head, and that's usually my everyday brain.
That's all right. Well, but
it's the healing and
the chronological order didn't make sense as much as like the key moments that lead to all this grief and all this trauma work that you've done, which again, you can listen to all those. I mean, every episode has some description of what happened. But of course there are so many amazing topics that we've already covered, and we've only like done the 30,000th view. Then we're going to go back and kind of get into some of these more in a deeper, specific way. So stay tuned for those in the future. But really quick, by the time this airs, as this is airing, this should be airing on August 18th, which means that we are now 3 days, if you're listening to this, on the day it launched. And before September 15th, this is important. So we're doing a big giveaway.
Ooh, a big giveaway on September 15th.
On September 15th, if you want $250.
Heck yeah. I want $250.
Yeah,
Can I-
hopefully one of our listeners wants $250.
Yeah, can I enter too?
You can enter. Yeah,
Okay.
you can enter. Do you want to let them know what some of these details are? We can tag team this one because I feel like I don't want to talk the whole time.
Sure. No. So on September 15th, we're going to give one listener / viewer $250 to spend on themselves for some sort of self-care, for some sort of wellness. As we've talked about in the podcast, the grief journey, the trauma journey, mental health journey, all of that is so heavily weighted in our bodies. And one of the best things we can do for ourselves is to practice self-care. And, being that Logan's ninth, what's the word? Anniversary, Angel Day.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't think we've decided what to call it.
We haven't. I talk about this all the time and about how I just haven't come up with a phrase. Maybe subconsciously I just don't want to come up with a phrase, so I never do. Who knows? But regardless, on September 15th, we're going to give a listener some cash to go spend on themselves to do, something self-care, whatever that means to you. $250 to me could be a really nice, relaxation massage, or, I could actually, this sounds crazy because people probably be like, what? But I would spend it on, Danielle, working with Danielle, because me strength training with her is a huge, huge form of self-care. But the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything. It could be like maybe you live near a beach, and going to the beach and having a nice meal is therapy for you, or therapeutic for you. So you use that for gas money and a nice meal. However you want to use the $250.
We could even encourage, finding maybe a trauma therapist who does EMDR and going and testing that out, or, trying some new modality of therapy that we talk about, but, you may never have experienced. So, and we're here to explore that with everyone and anyone, and at any time as well.
That's right. Now, and as far as the details of how to enter the contest and like how to get, your submission in and all that details, that'll actually be on a post on Instagram. But we'll announce that some more coming up. But part of it involves going to Instagram, so we are encouraging people to go to do that, and our TikTok, and also it will involve a review. So if you want those details, we're going to record a separate video explaining all of the details of how that's going to be on there. So go check that out. Go to our Instagram, Trauma Uncensored. It's TU podcast, or what's our, I don't even know what our Instagram handle right now. I'm blanking on
it. What platform are we talking about?
Instagram.
What platform?
I'm blanking on
Instagram? I think it's just at Trauma Uncensored.
It is Trauma Uncensored.
Yeah, nice
that's
job
right.
there, producer.
Look at me go. Hey, listen. I did so well up to this point.
No. Hey, and speaking of September 15th, guess what I did this weekend?
Tell me. Well, actually, I kind of know, but tell me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you weren't supposed to say that. It was supposed to be like, oh, hey,
Hey, uncensored. I'm being uncensored. I'm giving people the truth.
Whatever. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
No, tell me what happened.
So I have applied for yet another go around for grad school, because once wasn't enough in my life. I decided I needed to do it again.
It didn't hurt enough.
Oh, well, this one, I did. I think, graphic design, being having an MFA in graphic design and teaching and all that jazz led me to here. But the response that I've received, the feedback, the people, opening up to me, that has been incredible. It has been so incredible to see people feel safe coming to me. And I do want to mention that, as you do, if it takes me a while to respond, or if you call and I can't call back, email and if we're connected via text is good and I can get back to you. But I'm getting a lot of people, and it's wonderful. And the fact that they want to open up and share and ask for experiences has been so overwhelming and so humbling to me that I am going to go back to school and get my license to practice being a therapist. So
Love it.
that is, yep. So at some point, whenever you say we're not licensed, I will be able to say, oh, but I am.
Yeah.
And that will just give it a little bit more validity. But I do also want to, just by getting my license doesn't mean that I'm going to sit here and go all clinical in the podcast, because that's not my mission. That's not my goal here. It's to be the real person who, shares the experiences and doesn't get all, because people can get lost in the vernacular of all the clinical, the clinical
Jargon.
definitions and terms and talk. And that's not what I want to be. But I do want to be able to at some point say, I can back up what we're talking about. And I have other big plans to do with it too. But for the sake of the podcast, that's going to be very important to me.
It adds some officiality in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Not that if you're not a doctor or something, or you're not a therapist, that you can't be officially talking about trauma. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it adds like a sense of, it's like a deeper sense of acknowledgement.
Yep.
And it's actually really beautiful as a story, right? You went through this horrific experience, and now you're helping others carry the weight of like all of their experiences. And I think it's just really cool. I mean, I'm proud. Good job. That is so.
Hey, thanks.
Awesome.
Well, and when I got on this weekend to do the application, it said next round starts September 15th. And I was like, well, there it is.
There it
Done.
is. Those are the
Done.
nods.
Mm-hmm.
The nods.
So that's the Logan wink, right?
That's right.
Logan wink.
He's
We
like,
need to put that on a t-shirt too. We should get a sketch of him and
They're
have
like, "Hey,
him
man."
winking. That would be good, huh?
make this not be for
A
nothing.
mug.
Love it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's so cool. All right.
So
You
stay
ready for the
tuned.
topic?
I may get really tired very soon. I may be
Good.
like Monday mornings. I'm like, oh my God.
You know, what'd be cool is if we can talk about like the stuff you're learning as you're learning it. Like, I think that'd be fun. Like we do a segment specifically, like maybe before we go into a main topic, just a quick like 3 minutes, what I learned, what
I
I'm
feel
learning.
very fortunate
That'd be
that I
cool.
have such an expansive background already, though, from everything that I've learned through residential trauma and these programs and being in therapy and, doing ketamine therapy and having great doctors. And I'm really hoping that kind of gives me a platform to jump from instead of going into it kind of blindly. So
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like when you go to a college and there's a business management professor, but they've never managed a business before, and you're like, what do you really know? I mean, theory, which is valuable, but also have you like gone through the entrepreneurial journey, which is scary as shit? No. So I mean, what can you teach me? But you are going to be doing this, and when people come talk to you, they're going to go, have you been through any trauma? Like, there's going to be that person who wants to understand, like, if you've even understood what they're going through, and you're like, actually, yeah, I have.
Right?
You have no idea.
Hello.
It's insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
It's one of the worst traumas a person can experience is the loss of a child. And I've been through it, and I'm going through it, and I'm here helping people. And that's like so much more powerful. Not to invalidate other therapists and stuff like that they are any less appropriate at their job or good at their job. But it's just a different layer of context that just really helps the connection that you need to help people heal. So that's great.
Yep.
All right. Are you ready for this?
Am I ready for this?
I'm nervous that you're going to hate
I'm
this.
gonna take a drink real quick.
I'm
of
nervous.
my
I'm nervous
iced
that you are
coffee.
going to hate this. I'm nervous.
Whatever. I'm here. I'm here for the ride.
And here,
I
by the way,
signed up for this, right?
okay, so before we go into this, a couple of things. One, I have no expectation as to what. This is genuinely just curious
Okay.
for me.
Okay.
'Cause okay.
Just spit it out.
Okay. I want to talk about if people listening, I hope are curious about this too. I want to talk about if during any of this part of your experience, you have found your spirituality, as far as faith-based stuff, change one way or the other, or flip back and forth? There is a face.
Actually, yeah, there is, because it's actually a very good question. It's actually a very, very good question that I could talk a lot about. So
Good.
see,
Because we
there
have
is
40 minutes.
check mark for you.
So okay, so here's the thing. So, and again, I'm not asking this from my own personal, like, I don't want to get preachy, so because sometimes people turn off and tune off. That's not the goal of this. I just
And I don't get preachy either.
good. So, and I appreciate that. So, it's just that sometimes when people go through experiences like this, you hear a lot, or I guess, when I've met people who go through trauma, or specifically grief, loss, horrific loss, there's a lot of those questions of like, is there a God? And then other people, you hear them say, oh my God, I found Jesus because of this, or whatever. And again, if that's you, great. Congratulations. If you're listening to this and that's something that's awesome. Again, this is not to be preachy or one religion or faith, but I am curious that's something we actually have not ever talked about, is like how spirituality, not in like the sense of like meditation, or maybe in that sense too, like how that's changed for you. What was your faith base looking like before? Did it make you be more, wow, we survived and that's a miracle, or wow, if God existed, how could this have happened? It's kind of, there's so many different like ways that people take this.
All of the above.
Yeah. So, okay. Wow. Okay. This is going to be interesting.
It is. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, no, this is something that, no, I do. I think this is a very important topic, because I know of a lot of people who, have followed the same path that Jordan and I have, who, have gone different paths. It's not, there's no system or rule book for it. And, something that's important to point out in the very beginning is that it's not consistent, right? It's evolving, it's nonlinear, it's organic. So what I could feel one day, I might feel completely different, the next day. Now, that's not how I am now. I have a very strong belief in, the spiritual component, that, energy continues to exist, even after our physical being has passed. There's just too much that's happened in my life, too many. I don't believe in coincidences. So I believe, that I enter into spaces and meet certain people, and things fall into my lap because they're meant to, and I just have to listen to it. And I believe that it's been over time of me developing my own sense of belief system, my own sense of, it is very spiritual. I don't want to go into the major details of, my belief system, because mine aligns with a lot of people. I just speak about it differently. I do believe everybody's after the same thing, but it's described differently. Like, for example, we don't use the name God. We actually use Bob. We say Bob.
That's awesome.
Because Logan used to say, Bob bless America, and one nation under Bob. So we use
Robert.
Bob. Yeah, Robert. You haven't done that.
Did you ask Robert for it? I'm asking Robert about it.
Bob. So, but for me, it has, so I have a belief in that higher power, right? I do. But what's interesting is, like, all my life up until the crash, and actually that summer before, I had really gotten into all of this belief system. I had actually, it was just kind of rolling into it, like believing that there was something bigger out there. And I'd always, when we were growing up, my mom tried the church thing with, my brother and me, excuse me. And it didn't really stick. And, I knew of everything out there in the different religions or whatever, but, we don't go to church. When Jordan and I, after Logan died, went to church in Indy, it was a unity church. So, it wasn't straight-laced one way or the other. But, I grew up believing there was something, not really having a definition, not really knowing what that was. And then the summer before, or the summer he passed away, whenever I got sick, especially, and things started to really go downhill physically and mentally, then I latched on to something. You know, I needed something to be able to give me support or help me, or something to pray to, you know, to make sense of what was going on. But still, it was just like, I had gotten a rosary in 2015 when we were in, I took the students overseas to Europe. I don't think it was in Switzerland. I think it was in, was it Linz or Austria? Anyway, semantics, right? Doesn't really matter. It's all in the details. But I had gotten one from a church because we went and we saw a lot of churches and we, you know, explored the art. And I had come home and it had sat in a dresser after that, you know, for over a year. And then I got sick that summer. And I remember I would cling on to it and sleep with it every night. So it's like somewhere, you know, I knew there was something. I wanted to believe there was something, but I just didn't know. And I think that's how I was. I mean, really, growing up and throughout my life, I believed there was something, but I didn't follow any sort of organized religion to tell me exactly what it was. But then, you know, clinging onto that rosary really it gave me some comfort, you know, and it I don't know, it made me feel like if I just prayed enough that things would change. And I was never a person to pray. So, once Logan died, I went through the anger phase. I yelled a lot about what God would take a child. You know, what did we do wrong? Like, what did we put out there into the universe? And if there is this almighty God, then why the fuck would he hurt us like this? You know, and remember that at that time, and for people who have not suffered loss, I know that sounds very harsh, but you do tend, or at least in our situation, my situation, I forgot, or I didn't pay attention to, or I refused to acknowledge the fact that this happens daily to people all over the world, right? Logan was not the only kid to die.
That day even.
Right, even that day. And in my world, we were the only family going through anything like this, you know, and that's grief 101 right out of the door. I mean, honestly, it's hard to see outside of yourself farther than the end of your nose because your life has just completely shattered. So I remember spending time in the shower yelling and just screaming. I'm like, what the fuck did we do? How are you a good God if you could take, you know, my child away from me? So there was that, you know, so I knew something was there before. I knew something bigger was there before he passed away. And then he passes away. And then, you know, I'm just like, fuck you, whatever you are. You know, you can kiss my ass because this is not fair. But it would be certain events that would happen and over the next, you know, 2, 3, maybe 4 months that would start to actually shift how I felt. Like the anger was always there for a long time, but it began to be anger about the fact that my son was gone. More so about the fact that my son was gone and not as much geared toward a higher power. So it started to shift. And that's because I had experiences that I can't explain as a human. Now, I don't believe in the black and white. I got to put that out there now. I believe that there are many shades of gray in between. So without going, you know, diving too far into the spirituality woo-woo, I started having, there were circumstances and experiences that I just couldn't explain. And that, you know, kind of opened my mind up to he is still here. You know, I mean, I remember dreams that I had immediately after he passed away. Crystal clear dreams. I remember that morning laying in bed and being half awake and half asleep, and then hearing him and, like seeing him in front of me and hearing him go, "Hey, Mom," that was huge for me. And so I started to get curious about, well, okay, maybe he is still around. Maybe it doesn't just end after we die, right? It doesn't just go black and that's it. I felt like he was sending me these dreams, wanting me to understand that he was okay. He was helping me out. And then I started to, you get these dreams of, like the one of the first ones, he took me throughout this house, and in every room there was a piano or a keyboard. And Logan loved, that kid had perfect pitch. He could pick up anything and just pick it out on his keyboard. And so he was, and he was very good. In fact, what's interesting is Mila and Mallory are both in vocal lessons, and Mila is learning the keyboard. And, Jacqueline the other day was like, "I just can't believe how she picks this stuff up." And Mallory,
you got some musically inclined children.
You know what? I'm going to take all the credit for it. That's all. That is all.
Fair enough.
No, I don't. Both of our families have, musically inclined, especially Jordan's family. There are a lot of very inclined musicians on his side, but they all can just hear something, they pick it up, they can go with it. Mallory she's not really interested in instruments. Jacqueline's trying to kind of get her into that because of what Mallory wants to do. And so she's starting to pick at the keyboard, but she can hear a song and she's got it memorized. She's got, the pitch memorized, all of that. But Mila, we're noticing, is doing both the singing like Mallory and she loves the keyboard, and she's picking up keys, and she can just go back and do it. And she's 6 on Friday, right? It's pretty impressive.
That's
anyway,
so cool.
Logan loved music like that. He loved the keyboards and his keyboard. And in fact, for his birthday that year, when he turned 9, we had gotten him this big expensive keyboard that he barely used, but the girls are using it now, which makes my heart happy. But
whoa, that's
they're using it
wild.
now. It's up in our rec
even that's
room
cool. That's an interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think the keyboards and piano hold so much history. Like not more so pianos, but both. I think were because someone played that. Like instruments like that are old like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something to it. I don't know. It feels like there's a spirit there in there. Not to get all about it again, but I think so.
Oh, there go my dogs. Sorry.
No,
they
that's
like
good.
to come in and hang out with me when I record, but then they're assholes and like to bark at absolutely nothing. So
my dog's with me in here too. But okay, so hang on. So there's always been this sense of spirituality in your life, not necessarily anything organized from a religious standpoint. Echoes of different religions or different spiritualities here and there. And then obviously Logan showing up in your dreams and kind of, finding you outside of the physical realm. We'll just call it that way. And so then you kind of decided to pay more attention to that than to the question of why would God do this if he existed?
It actually sent me on a quest to understand that he was okay, to see if he was okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's where that started to head. And my work from there would be diving into modalities and resources that would help me just ease my mind and know that he was okay, and now after all these years, I've known for a long time that he's fine. I believe all of our loved ones are fine. And in fact, I typically say that they're the ones better off. We're the ones stuck in hell.
Honestly.
That's,
I've always thought that if a hell existed, we're in it right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because you can feel this kind of pain.
Right. Right. And
you know what I'm saying?
And I think that, there's so many things I think about this, but again,
Now,
I don't really want to.
Not that this is, I believe,
waver into
by the way,
woo-woo.
this is not necessarily what we believe. It's just those thoughts that come to you as you're going through these kinds of things.
Right.
But the disclaimer, I'm not saying that I don't believe in hell or whatever, or what I do, or that earth is hell. Before someone, I can just hear the keyboard commenting right now. Like,
I know. I'm like,
fuck.
And now we've lost our entire viewership.
No, but this is a
audience.
topic that people, and I wanted to talk about this, but this is why I was nervous about it, because this can be a topic that some people listening to this either are screaming in their car or wherever you're listening to this, going, "You guys are idiots. Jesus loves you." And we're like, okay, well, I mean, that's your perspective. And by the way, for full transparency and disclosure, I believe in the Christian faith, right? That's me. But my point is, just because that's me doesn't mean I get to tell you or anybody listening
Exactly.
that's what the truth is, right?
Exactly.
That's just what I think for me.
Well,
right?
and that's how I approach a lot of things, politics, religion.
Yeah, exactly.
I have open conversations as long as they stay respectful and people
Yeah.
can talk about their beliefs.
Correct.
One side or the other without,
Like this.
getting pissed off. Right. I mean, I believe everybody has the right to their own opinion, their own
Absolutely.
beliefs. Just don't come at me and
Wait,
get defensive and yell at me and tell me what I should
Permission to
believe,
say
'cause I'm
something
not gonna-
vulgar?
Uncensored?
Yeah.
Well, that's the title
This is
of our
vulgar.
podcast.
Okay, here we go. This was going to flag us for explicit content.
Well,
But
don't get us in trouble.
I mean, we can bleep this out. I'm going to make a note here in case.
Well, we'll just see how. Let's see how.
I'll see how it
vulgar
goes.
is.
And then I'm going to mark right now just maybe a potential bleep for Franco. Okay. This is where you edit it, Franco.
Frank.
And then after this, it'll come back, and I'll tell you this so you can come back. But one time somebody said to me that religion and politics are like a penis.
Oh.
It's okay to have one. It's okay to believe in it.
Don't flap it in everybody's faces.
Just don't throw it down my throat without my consent. Right?
I like mine better though. Don't flap it in other
Yeah,
people's.
don't flap it in
Yeah.
people's faces in public, and don't shove it down my throat without my permission. Right? Like, that's it. Okay, and that's really what it is, right? Like, there's a difference and whether I believe as a Christian or if I was a Muslim. I believe this is the same for if I was a Jew, whatever. I would believe this the same way, right? Which is, if I'm so confident in my faith, then I should live my life to follow that faith. And just by the sheer way of me living my life, if people are inspired by that, they would come to me and go, "Wait, what do you know about this?" And then I can talk. That's consent on their side, going, "Hey, there's obviously something going on," because that's what happened to me. I had a teacher who just, something about the way he carried his life. I was like, man, I want to be more like you know something I don't know, right? And I asked him about it, and he was very happy to tell me. But then he wasn't like pushy, he wasn't preachy. It was just more like, here's what worked for me. It doesn't have to work for you. Very like hands open palm, right? Take it or leave it. I don't care. And that worked for me. But then I learned from that. So anyway, I'm just letting people know that that's my background, just so that's clear. But regardless of that, I still think that this is a topic surrounding grief and loss, death, that it naturally has to come up, right? Because, and we've really not talked about this, like, I mean, maybe a dust here and there in the first 16 episodes, right? But we haven't really and again, we could talk about this for hours, but there are people who are listening to this who have had grief, who have found faith, whether that be the Christian faith or the Muslim faith, whatever. They found some sort of healing, even not just comfort, not just a coping mechanism, right? Just in the same way that we talked about last week about drugs, and some people find a lot of healing through some of this, right? They actually find healing through faith, and it helps them forgive, and it helps them move on, and it helps them carry that weight, just like we've been talking about all this whole time. And so it is worth mentioning and talking about it, right? Because it's part of it naturally comes up when the topic of death is involved. It's a natural human question to go, okay, what now? Like, where is Logan now? And that naturally brings up, okay, well, here's what a Christian would tell you.
Yeah.
This is where he's at now.
I am going to throw this out though. The one thing that irked me the most in the beginning, religion aside, beliefs aside, people would come up to us and tell us that our son was in a better place from the get-go. And that would set me off. Like that, again, that's religion
Don't
aside.
say that. Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, his place is here with us. Now,
At least he's in a better
9
place.
years later, here's the thing. I believe in the evolution of our lives, both physically here and spiritually, leading us down a path that we have to choose to follow. Like all of these things happen and they're put before us. How we choose to respond, what we choose to do with it is on us.
There's
It
real.
is, right? So you're not going to sit here or ever hear me go, well, he's in a better place because that's where he's supposed to be. God needed another angel. Well, no, God didn't need another angel. That is not a phrase I liked hearing either. And now I can look at it and say, okay, maybe Logan's job wasn't, because I always said Logan was going to change the world, but maybe changing the world wasn't supposed to be here in the or like in the physical with us, but from whatever space he exists now. And the goal was to guide us to do what we're supposed to do. Now, I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, you're stupid. And that's fine. Because it's hard to believe. It is hard to believe that when you're in such a state of grief and loss, that their presence not being here physically with us can lead to anything positive. And I've experienced so much in 9 years, and I've learned so much, and I've been through so much. And it's not again, I don't believe in coincidences, but I don't believe that that things that have happened in the past 9 years have just happened by chance. I don't. Every step we've taken, every move we've taken, every residential trauma stay we've done, every program we've done, listening to the intuition and going after, this idea or this idea, it has all led us to where we are today. I've got this podcast and it helps fill that hole in my heart that is left behind by him. And it does because I know I'm doing something, not just in honor of him, but to help other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm going back to school now, right? I fought that. People have been encouraging me to do that for a while now. And I fought it and I'm like, there's no way. I've already done, the college thing, the grad school thing. I don't want to go back to school. Interestingly though, I have dreams a lot, or I've been having dreams a lot where I left my graduate studies at Iowa State unfinished. And the other day I told Jordan, I was like, I wonder if that was my intuition or those little whispers saying you're not done, because I graduated fully. I wrote my, basically a dissertation for Iowa State. It was a thesis, but it was long enough to be a dissertation.
Thorough.
That's how Brooke does it. Brooke just can't, do the bare minimum.
Thorough.
She's got to, hey, that's my OCD perfectionism right there. I'm working on it still. But, the dreams, I would just have these dreams that I never fully finished at Iowa State. And I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, thank God that's not real. Thank God that's not true, because I don't want to go back to school. And here I am,
Going back to school. But yeah, I mean, back to what you had said, though, I agree, I think life is a mixture of coincidences and predetermined. I think there's some sort of mix. But I think that when something like this happens, you mentioned it earlier with like Logan was going to change the world. I mean, he is changing the world, right? There have been people who have been impacted by your story. I'm not even talking about this podcast. Like there's people who you met at residential therapy that when you shared your story, helped them get perspective on something that they needed. And then, like the butterfly effect of what you have done to heal or to continue healing. It's kind of like that Lord of the Rings wound where Frodo gets, where he gets stabbed and it never really heals, but it's like always he's just growing with it. It's like that. As you were going through that process, your story has impacted people. It's created impact, and it's not for the sake of Logan. It's not because he died, but it's because what you said earlier. It's because he died, and then you chose how to react to that, right? And in some ways, much how people would expect you to react, right? And in other ways, in ways that you might surprise yourself, where you're like, wow, I didn't even know I was capable of this, right? Anything from what do I do next Christmas, as we talked about, to what if I start a movement and a nonprofit that helps people, right? You've done that in the past. What if I go back to school to help people heal because I've been through this, right? And I've found often that regardless of coincidence or not, if you put the word because when you're going through something difficult at the beginning, so like, I lost my child. Yes, you did. But if you start with because I lost my child, and then you go ... and then you finish that sentence, that is way, 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 way more powerful and impactful to answer that question, right?
I love that. Actually, I've never heard that. I've never even thought of that, of just putting the simple word because.
I'm not a therapist, but something.
I mean, listen, hey, do you want to go back to school with me? I started applying, and Jordan's like, he's like looking at the program now, and because he's been talking about for a while doing the same thing, just in a different focus. That, like, I have a specific focus of where I want to head, and he's got a specific focus. But I get on and I'm applying, and for months he's been looking into it, and now he's like, "Oh, I should apply. We should do this together." I'm like, "Okay, well, do your own thing." So anyway, all of that to say, you should just join with us. Who wants to join us in our educational adventures?
In growth. Well, and you know what that is though? It's just growth. It's just growth.
It is.
Yes,
but then I have to write
growing.
papers. And I don't like writing papers.
But doing things you don't like to do for the sake of something bigger than you is a great way to grow.
That's the thing. Is
that number 2? Is that quote 2? Damn it. That's what? Another. I'm back to back. Great quotes.
Are you going through and like writing all of these down, because they'll make great things for a book or merch or another book? Yes, another book. Well, listen, I still haven't received my copy of your
I know.
first book, so.
I need to send it to you. I'm so sorry. I also don't like talking about it on the air because I feel like I'm like plugging something of mine it's like a shameless plug. I care. I don't want to do that on this. Whatever. But anyway, yeah, I should write these down. I need to. I'm going to take this. No, Franco, make a reel on it.
Franco, go back and listen to every single episode and pull out all the good quotes. What was the one that Mallory left?
Oh,
what's on her episode? Don't let the light fade.
Don't let the light fade.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have my first tattoo appointment scheduled for next week.
You're gonna get the tattooed?
Well, I'm going to get that tattooed, but I haven't since the spring, because I'm a sun baby, right? I'm out in the sun. Mila likes to swim, so we get out there, we go places, I'm out gardening and whatever. So it's hard for me to, in the summertime, want to get any ink, because, then you have 2 weeks that you have to take care of it, stay out of water, don't let the sun get to it. It's a pain in the ass. So once fall hits, I'm like rearing to go. So I have two. I have one on August 20th and then another on September 10th. But I'm going to, of course, I've got my t-shirt on, but I think I'm going to put it connected to the butterfly and the world, the wispies up here. I was thinking about putting it on my clavicle.
Ooh.
Anybody know if the clavicle hurts? I mean, listen,
mine didn't hurt. I have a little bit on the clavicle, and it wasn't too bad. It didn't.
The elbow.
But maybe it's just a specific spot.
If I can survive the elbow,
then
I can survive anything.
I have a bit of mine got up to the armpit,
Oh, that's terrible too. Yeah, I got him. I got him in there.
Baby, I love you.
I know. But you
I
know
was
what? We
singing in
keep
that Tootsie
coming
Parlor.
back. We keep coming back.
It's an
for
addiction.
more.
I can't get it to stop.
I know.
Okay, so we got way on tangent. We got into tattoos.
I mean, I could talk about tattoos all day long.
Same.
I could talk about their symbolic meaning.
That's actually a topic I
about
had as far as like
stories.
commemoration of like through ink, but that's okay. Okay, so next question: have you ever then through this since the 9 years had people where because of your story they felt like spiritually in energized, I guess, in a way, like where people were like you maybe had a conversation with someone, or like on the other hand, when I say energized specifically because sometimes people get energized in a way that's not good. Like someone's like, "What? You don't believe in Jesus or Allah or whatever," and then they get like really bitey. Like, let me give you an example. So I had heart surgery when I was 6. Mm-hmm. Okay, I died. I was pronounced dead.
Right.
Whole thing.
Welcome back.
And then I used to tell people this. I've stopped, even though I just told it to the world on a podcast. But on one-on-one conversations, it would come up and I would just talk about it. And people always ask me questions. What did you see? Did you go anywhere? Do you remember it? And I would be like, yeah, you just start talking about it. And then I learned to not do that because it started happening often enough, not all the time and not every time, but often enough that people would go, well, that's not what happens. And I'm like, what? Why? Okay. First of all, okay. How do you know? 1 and 2, you asked me.
Right.
I'm telling you what I know, like, as if I could explain something like that surreal in mortal words. And then you're mad at me because it's not what you think should have been. I'm going to not do that again. And it started happening often enough that I'm like, fuck this. Like, I'm not doing, no. And so now I almost even rarely mention it to people because, unless like we're close, because it's like, I'm going to say something that you don't like. And even if you might just, because sometimes people be like, oh, wow, that's cool. Thanks for sharing that. Whatever. But it was just frequent enough that people, I'm like, there's a chance I'm going to say this. You're not going to like it because it doesn't align with your stuff. And then you're going to get mad at me. And then now we have to deal with that, which we could have just not dealt with that at all if I just kept my mouth shut. Right. So have you had anything similar to that where when you told them how you've experienced spirituality because of Logan and his death, that then people either got mad at you or the opposite? Maybe people are like, oh my God, I knew it.
They kind of
I knew it.
No, I mean, well, so here's the thing. I remember, shoot, it still happens. So I create boundaries for myself around certain conversations and certain people. I don't not give them the space to talk about their belief or what they say, sometimes people will say things and internally I'm like, that doesn't align with what I believe, but I don't say anything as long as they're not getting like belligerent or preachy or, trying to convince me of what they believe. I will say that with those boundaries, I don't really remember a time that anybody's pushed back, but I also am very diligent about reading a person and reading the room before I say much of anything. And what's actually really surprised me about living here in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, is that I can actually there have been very few people that I have felt like I have had to censor myself or restrain or not talk about things. It's actually, I feel very fortunate. It's definitely more progressive talking about it here in Middle Tennessee than it even was in Indianapolis, which I would have thought would probably align. But I definitely, I might put out like little nuggets in conversations and see how people react. And then if I feel like it's safe and aligned, then I'll continue forward. So I probably haven't had a lot of reactions in those ways because I don't just come out and verbally vomit everything. I just kind of let it, I just kind of play the field and see what's going on. And if I've had an experience, honestly, I don't remember. I probably have, but I don't.
Yeah, I get it. There's people who they want to tell you what is and what it isn't.
And there
it's
have
just
been.
like,
Oh, there have been. And that's where I've chosen to, that's where I choose not to engage, like create that boundary, not to engage, allow them to say things that I may not agree with. But again, as long as they're not being belligerent, as long as they're not yelling at me, because that's a different story. That's a completely different story.
yeah.
But
If,
that's something that I set from the beginning, because there were people telling me exactly how they thought it was from the beginning, and I didn't align with it. But I never really pushed back. I didn't have the energy for it. I
Yeah.
would just kind of, and then they'd stop, and then we'd, it'd all be over.
Who's
Until
got
the
the
next
time?
time.
Who's got the time when you're going through grief?
There are some people.
Unbelievable. Now, is there some resources or anything that you've helped? I mean, as far as now, when you think of your spirituality and anything related with faith, that if people listening who are maybe just still kind of early on in this stage of grief, they're like, hey, I never believed in God, but I don't even know what to think now, and I just lost this or that. Maybe the grief is that they lost their faith in some way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, is there any thoughts on things that helped you early on to kind of really stay connected? I mean, because one of the things that's so unique about you is in my opinion, is both of you and Jordan immediately recognized that you needed to get help. But sometimes people last a long time before even realizing that, after they go through something really traumatic. So that's huge. But was there anything that was guiding you spiritually to do so? Or like, was there any early on that you can remember that you're like, hey, if you're doing this is what helped. And this might be some resource.
What was actually very interesting, we didn't specifically seek anything. In the immediate aftermath, those resources were provided to us. We were, and I mean, very fortunate, I guess you could look at it, in that our tragedy was so publicized, was so talked about, that there were people who were giving us certain resources, like a trauma therapist, and we attended the Compassionate Friends in Tampa. We went to a group called Helping Parents Heal, all different modalities of healing of thought. And so we were kind of exploring it. And I was very lucky to be at the university, because I had a lot of colleagues who were not just supportive, but knew of other people, or the people were coming to them and say, here's a resource if she should be interested. So Jordan and I were, in this space, but we were exploring different modalities of belief systems, of healing systems. And it just so happened that we kind of latched on to a specific path that would open the journey up, even towards to today, what's been going on. And I fully believe that without being set on that path so early on, and in fact, hey, Melanie, she was the one who set us up with another individual in Tampa, and that, aligned with a couple of other things, started to unfold this spiritual path for us. And so I don't, it's so hard to answer, because everybody's different, and everybody's going to grieve differently, and everybody's going to follow their own different paths. But I feel fortunate in the fact that we got to explore so many different things and find out what worked for us and what didn't work for us. And I'm very grateful, honestly, for the path that we started down. And I very much believe I would not be here today had those little nuggets not been dropped in our path, and we chose to just explore and follow. I did a ton of reading. Jordan and I did a ton of reading. There were a lot of books that were recommended. That really helped me to believe that there is existence past physical death, and that, there is a connection for eternity with these loved ones. That really helped me. That helped me a tremendous amount to be able to think, you know what, this isn't the one and only. We've been together through eternity. We're just doing different things in different lifetimes. Again, this is how I feel. This is what I believe. I'm not prescribing this to anybody. Follow your own ways. Find what helps. As long as it's healthy, find what helps you. But I'm more than happy to talk with anybody about, book resources or, if you're interested. And again, I, more down the spiritual path, and that's what helped me start to open things up. But there are various support groups, and I'm thinking more along the line of people who have lost children, because that's what we focused on. But it just, you explore it. And the thing is that you have to be willing to explore it as well. Don't just sit there and be like, this isn't for me. I don't need therapy. I don't need to, go and find community in a grief group. I can do this on my own, et cetera, et cetera. You do that, and then you start to develop your own sense of maybe what's going on, and that can be okay. And it doesn't open you up to other possibilities, other ideas, or community, supportive community as well.
Yeah. I mean,
did that answer the question?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think what I got from all of that was your life just changed.
Yeah.
So
is that the title of this podcast?
Your life just changed. So therefore you have to be open to something in your life changing. Otherwise it's going to be really fucking rough, right? Like you said, you guys would have never thought about the idea of going to grief group. Why would you ever think about that? Because you didn't have to, right? Or I mean, you probably did anyway, but like my point is, like, you hadn't experienced the loss that led you to do that. So when your life changes that much, you and your identity and who you are become super malleable because it's changed. Like it's like if you're a piece of clay and a chunk just got ripped out. Well, now we got to figure out how do we fix this? How do we recover from this, right? And so therefore being open to changes, whether that be spiritual or physical or mental, or probably all of the above, right? Because your life just changed, you have to, in order, if you want to grow or at least survive, that you have to accept that there's something in your life that has to change. Yeah. Right?
And also in the immediate aftermath, also give yourself grace to not feel like you have to immediately do it, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be. Now I'll be completely transparent. Within a week of coming home, Jordan and I were in our first grief group. And we were seeing this trauma therapist and whatever, but that was what we chose. That was us choosing that path. But that doesn't mean that, everybody is going to be ready in a week or to even explore. I mean, hell, I couldn't get out of my chair. I can't even say bed because I was bound to a chair. But getting me to go to those was like pulling teeth. But because, I had Jordan and we were in this together, that's kind of what helped me move along. But as we started moving along into these things, into these activities, into these groups, it became easier for me to want to find more, to want to learn more, to want to open up more to the possibilities that were out there that could help me find a way to, feed my soul the way it needed in that moment, and even to begin to heal. But the best part of it was that I recognized, because remember when I said, in the immediate aftermath, I'm like, no, we're the only people who's ever gone through this. I mean, I remember sitting, once we got back to Carolina's and Paul's, and I could actually move, I remember sitting on their couch watching the Today Show, which is something that I would do religiously. And I'm watching it and I'm like, fuck all of you. My kid just died. How are you so happy? And just talking about this random bullshit, right? Yeah. I mean, I remember being physically angry that the world was still turning. And then we start getting into these groups, and instead of feeling that loneliness and feeling like we were the only people, we started to create community. And before we knew it, we were creating community, not just within the groups, but within the actual community. And we were sharing space with people who had gone through like experiences, whether it was a child or it was, a spouse or what have you. And that, for us, community was the answer in the beginning, because it made us feel like we were not walking this journey alone, that we had a safe space to go into and share our story with compassionate people who would allow us to cry, allow us to emote, not judge. And we'd hear their stories, and it would start to form, those building blocks. I mean, think about my mission with this podcast, right?
Yeah.
That community, that safety, that hearing other people's stories and being able to share your own story. And that's what I keep saying. People are so hungry to tell their stories. I've recognized this because people continue to just, I'll say something or they'll come to me and they just open it all up. They want people to talk to.
Yeah.
They want someone to share that space, and that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing that I think set us on our path, but we continued
Finding
to choose
community.
it. We chose it. We
Choosing.
continued to choose.
Because you said it earlier in this episode, it's hard to see outside yourself because your life is shattered, but it like kind of forces you to do that. It makes you go, oh, wait a minute. Not only is the world still spinning, but there's other people who have gone through this and are going through this. And in the 9 years since then, there's unfortunately a lot of people. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Gone to conferences with other people who have lost children, or that surround people, and we can sit in an entire, like in a hotel, an entire ballroom full of people, and if that is not humbling,
and the thing is, they've lost their children in any way, shape, or form. Right. We're talking about to cancer, to sickness, other sicknesses, to accidents, to crashes. Very different.
Yes.
Key distinction, right? To to violence, to gun violence, right?
Yep.
To,
drugs, to suicide.
To drugs, oh, geez. I mean, and that's the thing is, how can you even pick? Because the natural question is, well, that's worse or whatever. Some people might think like, well, that's worse. No, there's no such thing. It's fucking shit. Grief. And that's just people who've lost their children. Then there's people who've lost their spouse or their parents early, like when they were young. Like, I mean, oh my God, it's everywhere all the time. People dying.
That's the unfortunate thing that society doesn't talk about. This is life. Life is actually not pretty. It's just, it's not.
Life includes death.
And I mean, life is about, forcing or telling people that the only way to live is to be successful and have a drive that literally breaks down their mind and body. And then they're trying to commit suicide or are committing suicide. These are the things that nobody's talking about. I mean, it's kind of like how things just kind of built for me to the point where I had no other, I couldn't figure out anything else but to just end the pain, right? And you think about, you see CEOs who do this, or, I know over in Asia, it happens all the time with these successful people. Well, why the hell aren't we saying time out, slow down, self-care? You don't need to. And that goes across the board, right? From grief to, the personal drive to the work drive. I mean, all of these things. And until that becomes a conversation that people are having, we just go about thinking, oh, well, if you've not experienced, we're like, oh, well, that hasn't happened to me. And, do. And that's where I was before. I was just living my life going, hey, what? I had no purpose, really. I had no purpose, no meaning, no understanding of just living day to day. Just living day to day, going to work, going to soccer.
And that's a privilege. That's a privilege. And that's that P word is so like bad today nowadays, but privilege. And the way I define it is just thinking that something isn't a problem because it's not a problem to you personally, right? So then and it's okay. That's a beautiful privilege to have in your life, is that you've never had to like deal with grief or loss in that severe sense. And that's amazing and happy. That's great for you. But if it happens to you and you have to face it now, you're not alone. It's okay. Right. It's going to be okay. It's not okay now. But there's a moment where you start realizing, oh my God, this happens to everyone all of the time. And I didn't know And that's okay that you didn't know. Just find ways to find others to share the load, I guess, in a way, to not have to carry it all by yourself, to realize that you're not alone in this, and to figure out how you can now carry it, because it's going to be a thing that you have to carry for the rest of your life.
Well, and I hope people have stuck around to the end to hear this, because this is one of the big takeaways that I have learned and appreciated and am grateful for since Logan passed. I have lost a child, and that fucking sucks. I mean, I think about him all the time, every day. I was looking at Mallory yesterday, and she's now drinking lattes, and I took a couple pictures, and I looked at her, and I kind of caught this vision of what Logan would look like as a teenager, right? And it made me sad. So all of this, I lived blissfully unaware for the first 35 years of my life. Blissfully unaware. And even with having lost a child, I am so grateful for who I am, what I know, what I have become today. Because now I have purpose. Now I have a path. Now I have perspective. I have all of these different adjectives describing my life, which I never had before. And that's because I had no perspective. I just was living day to day. And now I know to carpe diem the shit out of my life. I live for the moment. I find joy in the moment. I don't worry about what's going to happen in 5, 10, 15 years. I may not even be here. Right? And before, all I did for years and years and years was worry about finding a job, grad school. How are we going to do this, this, and this, and this? What's it going to be like? And all these years. And I just wasted my life worrying. Now, do I worry still? Yeah, about some things, but I also know how to, be like, shut the hell up and
be
stay
patient.
in the present. Yeah. Well, yeah, you and I had that whole conversation earlier. That's patience I'm still working on, right? But I know that I can stop those emotions and redirect, and I'm at least aware of it. All right. I'm at least aware of how impatient I am about certain things.
Hey, I'm glad.
But all that to say is, it doesn't have to be an and or, right? It doesn't have to be, or it doesn't have to be a but. It can be an and or.
Yep.
And, it just, that's the biggest thing I learned. But I wouldn't have learned that
it's an
none of this
ellipses.
stuff. It's an
ellipses. And you just throw the word because in front of it, as we said.
That's right.
Because I lost my son, ... And then you get to choose whatever the fuck happens next with that.
Yep.
Oof. All right. We can close this one. This is great.
All right. Ta-da.
Great work.
See, look, nothing to be scared of.
More of this. I know I was nervous a little bit about it, but all right. Catch you guys on the next episode. Again,
Yes.
check out we will drop a mini trailer kind of video with all the details on that contest we told you about. It is also going to be on our Instagram, Trauma Uncensored on Instagram. It's going to be something along the lines of give us a follow, give us a share, that kind of stuff. Leave us a review, and you can submit. Well, to pick a winner for $250, as well as...
Hey, listen, you know what I just thought of?
What's
I
that?
could also fly someone to come see me and be on the podcast.
That's also... Whatever you want to use those $250 for.
That's
Or
right.
$250.
Because I know that there are a lot of people out there who are itching to be a guest. So I could always... I mean, that could always be a thing, too. And that could be a very self-care healing...
They can choose.
Healing experience, yep.
But stay tuned for that, and
That's right.
thank you so much, contest stars. It goes between the 15th of August to the 15th of September. If you're listening to this episode past 15th of September 2025, still, if you want to give us a follow and stuff, go for it. But it's not a submission for the contest. Sorry. So on that note, bye everybody.
Bye.